This is
What She Said
with Kate Wheeler, Christine Bentley, and Sharon Caddy
on Canada Talks.
Welcome back. I'm Kimothy Walker. What we're talking about today is healthy living, and we're talking to Nicki Bridgland from Ottawa Sport and Social Club, where every week 10,000 people are playing around Ottawa. Highly successful business, and founded by you, Nicki. And tell us first of all why you built this company. Why particularly this one?
Well, I think on the personal side, I was an only child and forever was looking for people to play with in my life. And so that classic question when people say, well, what are you passionate about when you start your own business? For me, it was circles of friends and creating community.
And now, how does it work? Because you say 10,000 members. Obviously, you need more than a couple sports facilities to accommodate that. So are you the network? And how do people find out where they're playing or how it works?
Mm-hmm. We've got a website, which is OSSC.ca. And we organize all facets for our members so that it's really easy for them just to show up and play. So we organize the schools where we in gyms play, the fields, community centers. We organize the leagues that they're in. We keep their standings. We provide them with their equipment and all the social activities as well that surround playing in the league.
So do you find that, demographics-wise, what does it look like?
Primarily, our members are in their 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, we're 50-50 split between male and female. So all of our sports are co-ed. And the philosophy is just get out and have fun. It's not super elite. It's not for the all-star university player. It's for the person who maybe hasn't even tried playing dodgeball or hasn't played soccer since they were a child again. So really inviting and no barriers for people to join.
Are you finding more and more that you might be getting that demographic of people who are second time around? That their lives have changed and they want to get out and do something? Because you call it recess, right? It's like recess for adults. But that they're, and I'm thinking about when I joined Ultimate in my 40s, thinking that might be a good idea until I, hurt my foot. But I'm thinking that your demographic is changing.
Yeah, and we don't have any statistics on that per se. I've been hesitant to brand the company as a dating company for fear that...
I can for you.
It's a great byproduct, but I'd hate to brand it that way only because there'd be a limited shelf life. My preference would be, if you are on the second time round, you do meet your soulmate, sportmate, and that you continue playing with that person so that it's not just to find somebody and then stop, but to continue playing as a couple together afterwards.
One of the things that we've talked about in the past too is it's fun, but it's an incredibly successful business. And for people to kind of get their head around that, because it doesn't really fit into any particular silo, right? When people think of a successful business that has 10,000 members, they're not typically thinking about things where people are throwing dodgeballs at each other. But, for you personally, how do you own that? How do you absorb the fact that you've built something that's completely unique and highly successful?
Thanks, Kim. That's a tricky one for me. I mean, it's sort of not wanting to be egotistical about what's been created, but I did begin the business with 350 people playing weekly, and now, as you said, there's 10,000 that play weekly. Mm-hmm. That's huge growth exponentially, and it's a message that I think we need to share with the market more so that people really understand from grassroots it is possible to create the dream of a business that I had envisioned way back in the days that I was in the corporate world. And this for me is so rewarding to look out on a field and to see hundreds of people playing, or at one of our facilities that we built for beach volleyball and see 800 people playing a night. It's really a dream come true.
So let's talk a bit about leadership and business. How did you approach it? I know you're very intuitive, so you listened to what was driving you, right? You didn't have the strategic 5-year plan and the Harvard business model. It was what you felt. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would say felt, business. How do those two things kind of fit together?
Yeah, I do business in a different way. You're right. When I began, I never had a business plan. I've never created a business plan, which I'm shy to admit, but I'll admit it here on this show. I now have other people that create the business plans for our expansion, which is great. But it is a gut feeling. It's a sense of philosophically, I believe when I'm doing the right thing, doors open in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect it. And so that for me is the guidepost that I'm on the right track. Whenever I go to a new city, whenever I start a new business, it's a gut feel.
And what do you do if something doesn't feel right? You know, if you're doing something that's taking you down a certain path, and this happens to a lot of women in business, and on here on What She Said, I'm sure listeners want to know, you know, you get a feeling that it's just not right. And, you know, some might say, well, you just can't do that on gut feeling and walk away from X or Y. Would you?
I think gut feeling is easier for me to inform me of where I want to go. It's harder to listen to it when it tells me not where to go. So I opened a sport and social club in Boulder, Colorado, and we gave it about 2 years. Spent a lot of money on it, learned a lot of lessons, and then ended up closing it because it didn't catch on in the market the same way that sport and social clubs have in the other 5 cities that we currently run across Canada.
So, well, first of all, what are the other cities?
Kingston, Halifax, Victoria, Ottawa, of course, and Quinte, which includes Stirling, Belleville, and Trenton.
So those are all coincidentally very outdoorsy, physically active cities, right? Was that strategic or just cities that you loved?
Well, I won't speak to the ones that I love the most, but originally it was the philosophy of what cities would I be willing to move to and want to spend time in when I began it, and if I needed to move there based on a turnover of a staff member. So how would I feel about living there, and what was the opportunity within the community and the need? I have no desire to go to a new city that already has a sport and social club model because I don't want to compete with anybody and take anybody else's dream away. Also, I feel that I know every city we go to is better for having us there by going to a city that has nothing like us already.
You're listening to What She Said on Sirius XM 167, and we're talking to Nicki Bridgland, who's you know, the CEO, you say Chief Enthusiast Officer sometimes, CEO and founder of Ottawa Sport and Social Club. It's in 5 Canadian cities, and in Ottawa alone, 10,000 members. And we're talking about leadership, and you get requests sometimes to coach or business tips. What's the number one thing that you say to, you know, maybe young women who have a dream of starting something like you did? What do they need to know?
I think what's most important and what's guided me the best is doing something I'm passionate in. I speak at Queen's, and I also speak at the University of Ottawa within their MBA program and their undergrad business program. And that's the first thing I say to people is, who cares about profit? Who cares about revenue? That will sort itself out. But to do something that you truly, truly believe in, that you feel the world can't do without, and that you can't do without bringing to the world.
And you still go and play, right?
I do, yeah.
What are your favorite things to play?
Well, floor hockey, I've played with the same team for 12 years. And I also play all sorts of sports, which is a different sport every week. So it really is like recess. Nobody's very good at all of them. And so I call it the best ab workout possible because we laugh nonstop throughout the entire game and then afterwards at the pub.
That sure beats doing crunches. And, you know, when you're talking about speaking at Queen's and the University of Ottawa, and when you go into establishment environments, right? You know, old business establishment environments, and, you know, you're a breath of fresh air. And, you know, for people who can't see, although I guess they can look you up on the website, you know, you sort of epitomize healthy living. You're incredibly fit and natural, and I'm guessing that a 3-piece suit is not your idea of what one wears to a business meeting. How do you work within that? The idea that you are different and that what you bring to the table is very different, but people need to recognize that you're a highly successful businesswoman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been at a couple of events in the last week and a half that I've put my suit back on, and it's been years since I've done that. I remember the first sponsorship meeting I went into as the founder of OSSC, and went in, you know, white t-shirt, black pants, and flip-flops, and I was delighted because I had left the heels and suits behind in the corporate world. Right. What I realize now is there are certain environments that require that require showing up differently, and that I can still bring that playful, natural, healthy, alternative way of doing business to the business world, even at some of the more traditional events. And I think it just shows up in my interaction and the kinds of conversations I choose to have with people at those events.
We've talked to a lot of women on this show who were pioneers. I mean, that was, and again, they have difficulty owning the title, but they were pioneers. People who even started businesses 30 years ago in areas that people said, you're never going to make that in Ottawa. They do that in Toronto. We don't do that here in Ottawa. And there's a certain responsibility, right, to, pull up people coming behind you, young women coming behind you. And, charitable work. And you certainly get to a point in your life where you want to give back. The healthy living piece for you, your business is actually about fulfilling health and well-being. I guess my question is, like, how rewarding is all of this for you all these years later?
It's so rewarding. To know that 10,000 people are active and living in community and socializing every single week is a massive feel-good for me. It's what gets me up every morning to work on Sport and Social Club and to share the messaging with Ottawa and the other cities that we're in, so that people can have a more fulfilling lifestyle. It's not just about health. Sport is the wrapper, but really the nugget is community and connection. So one of my favorite things to hear people say is, now I have people to go to Jazz Fest with, Blues Fest with, movies with, because they have a community they otherwise didn't have. I also think one of the best compliments that we've received is, who needs the weekend when we've got Monday night floor hockey? That's how fun it is. And so, yes, that feels tremendous to be the initiator and the pioneer of this market within Ottawa.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. Let's tell people again how they find you and find out more information.
Our website in Ottawa is OSSC.ca. That's short for Ottawa Sport Social Club.ca. And all of our other cities can be Googled by replacing the name Ottawa with Kingston, Halifax, Victoria, Quinte.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kim. This was a delight.